Hello dear tea friends from around the world. Welcome to the third class about Baozhong tea. Today this class is brought to you by the tea-masters.com tea boutique. I'm Stéphane Erler, the founder of the Tea Masters blog and also the taster of this Tea Masters boutique. I'm selecting the first batch of green tea in the spring and also the last batch of high mountain oolong in the spring. In the meantime, in my selection, you will also find teas from Alishan, roasted oolongs. And later in the year, my selection will focus more on higher oxidized oolongs and red teas like a concubine, oriental beauties, red teas from Sun Moon Lake or from the east coast of Taiwan. And a selection would not be complete without some pu'er from Yunnan, because this is a tea that collectors really enjoy for its aging potential and also for its wild characteristics. The Gushu pu'er are really very special. We have some from Yiwu, Linsang, Banzang, from Jiangcheng also. So lots of different terroirs that really continue to amaze us how varied tea can be. And I also have some scented teas that sometimes are frowned upon by tea purists. Oh, what is that? Flower scented teas, that must be cheap tea, that must be very modern things. However, these classes we've had in the last 2 weeks have taught us that flower scented teas are really a major part of the Baozhong culture and the oolong culture in Taiwan. So we've seen that it started in Fujian, in Fuzhou, and that later on Taiwanese merchants were able to do the whole process in Taiwan, including the scenting of the leaves. These flower-scented Baozhongs were mostly exported to Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, later also the Philippines. And there is a lot of know-how that goes into making this scenting with flowers of this Baozhong. And today I would like to focus a little bit on this part, on the technique of scenting these teas. I will also brew this Osmanthus scented Baozhong from Sanxia, give you more details about this tea, also tell you what is the best way in my experiments to brew this flower scented Baozhong. It really smells very strongly like Osmanthus. The Osmanthus leaves are really very obvious to see, especially if you are at the end of at the bottom of your package. That's because the flowers are still in there, and we see them. They are a bit orange, quite small. This farmer does not have a machine to sort them out, and so since it's not a problem to leave them inside, he just left them inside so that we are also reassured that this is really scented with real flowers. And then we will also finish this class again with continued ideas on how these scented teas can be really high quality, and I will give you some knowledge about what makes a good scented tea. Now, let's start with the scenting techniques. There are 3 scenting techniques. The modern one that starts by putting your dry leaves of tea, put them on flat, on a large surface, and then spray them with essential oils. Simply spray them. And these essential oils nowadays are very often made through chemical means, through some chemistry in a laboratory. And this is the most popular method nowadays, the cheapest, the fastest. Simply spray and the tea leaves absorb these essential oils, and then the fragrance is very strong and very. It does not change. Once it's there, it's not changing anymore. The tea is almost just a support for the fragrance. And these fragrances come in lots of different fragrances. There's a lot of choice. You can also put more or less, make it more concentrated. But this is not the method that is used for the teas in my selection. This is really the method used in the teas that you will find in large stores, supermarkets. They are sprayed simply with oils and with chemicals. Well, let's go to the more interesting other two techniques using real flowers. One of them is to use real flower within 24 hours of brewing the tea. This is so here you are really adding the flower just before you are brewing the tea. These flowers will give some of their fragrance to the tea, and you might even drink the flower and eat it together with the tea. So this is one way to add flower scents to the tea by mixing the flower with the tea at the very last minute or the last day, if you want. Now, this is not possible for these teas since I have to ship them, and it takes at least a week for them to arrive, and the shipping to the US is still not functioning well. I apologize, but to the rest of the world it is. So here you can take advantage currently, especially if you're in Europe, of the high value of the euro compared to the dollars, since my prices are in dollars. Okay, let's go back to the scenting of the teas with flowers, the third method which is used for these Baozhongs since mid of the 19th century. So first you have made your tea, the tea is dry, you take it out of the bag, put it on a clean surface, and then depending if you are able to sort out the flowers later on, you will put, if you can, then you will put the flowers on the tea heap itself. If it's too difficult to sort it out, then you will put the flowers just next to the leaves, and by the close proximity, the fragrance of the flower will go impregnate the tea leaves. Now this happens when you have harvested your flowers during the day, and you do this operation in the evening, 7-8 o'clock until midnight, 1 o'clock in the night. This is when the flowers release most of their fragrances during the evening, and that's where you are going to get the best results. After this is done, or actually while this is done, you have to be careful with one thing. Flowers have a high moisture content, contrary to tea, which is very dry. So it's not just the aromas of the flowers that go into the tea leaves, it's also the moisture. And this can cause the, especially this is done in summer or in fall, with the heat, the moisture will start to make the tea leaves ferment, oxidation, fermentation. So as soon as the maker realizes the tea starts to be too warm, he will have to break the heap and release the heat and the moisture from the heap, mix the leaves and the flower together again after some moisture was allowed to go away. So you have to be careful that you don't over ferment the tea while it is giving its aromas to the flowers, to the tea. And then when it's done, you usually either take a machine or you sort the flowers away by hand, because again the reason is they are usually they have too much moisture, so you want to take them away, and then you want to dry the tea leaves again, because now they have this moisture, and this will do two things. First, it will dry the leaves, but it will also fixate the flower aromas on the tea leaves and help this tea to have more flower aromas. In the case of Osmanthus, the flowers are so small that and they are quite robust that even when they are left with the tea, the water content is quite low, and it's possible to dry it and without hurting the leaves. So that's why it is it's left inside the package. It could have been sorted out, but actually it's quite light, and as I said before, this is a nice way for us to be sure that the real flowers were involved. Okay, now let's go to this tea. This is a tea that comes from Sanxia, which is south of Yingge, the ceramic capital in Taiwan. It's not far away from Taipei, maybe a 40 minutes drive. This plantation is quite interesting. I've been following them for over 20 years. I have even witnessed how it has passed from the grandfather to the next generation, and with this transfer of property and management, the younger generation decided to transition away from a too high yield business model to more how do you say durable, restrained way of managing the field with no chemicals involved, some fertilizer, natural fertilizers, but no pesticides. And so this field has little by little become purer and purer in the taste. And I'm glad that I've supported this farmer, because now after 10 years of transition, his teas are really coming into a very high quality level. He was also able to add a field to make chinu. This is also a tea that will be in this sampler of Baozhongs that we are going to taste together. And also the Baozhong that I mentioned before, the first tea of spring, is also coming from the same field. And Baozhong and this Osmanthus Baozhong are made from the same leaves, which are the Qingxing Ganzong. This is a leaf that has a good aftertaste, and that is quite powerful in the taste, maybe, and not so strong in terms of fragrances. So it is actually a good support for a flower scenting Baozhong. It is made in winter, and we can see that through the tips that we can see on the Baozhong, lots of white tips, more than in spring. So this is a characteristic of winter. Now, whether small leaves, high quality leaves, good purity, lots of tips, what would be the best way to brew such a tea? And also lots of fragrance from the fact that it's a flower-scented tea. So it's quite similar to the very fragrant Baozhongs we had in the past, but even more fragrant and very refined. Therefore, instead of using Gaiwan, which would also be a possible accessory, I'm going to use for this tea the silver teapot. And this will allow me to use very few leaves and get a very intense first and second brew. Of course, when you use fewer leaves and with a silver teapot, which means you are getting a lot of extraction in the first brews, the leaves are going to tire faster. So you are using fewer leaves, so you are getting less in terms of numbers of brews, but they are more intense. Now, I think for such fragrant tea, this makes sense. And we are going to... let's be careful. Silver can be very, very hot. And I'm going to brew it very calmly, very slowly, since the leaves are not rolled but striped, so they don't need much power to open up. They're already quite open. Really very few leaves. If you don't want all the flowers at the end, you can take them away. And now slowly if you're using porcelain, you can use a bit more leaves, but with silver, really the key to success is to use a smaller amount because of the extraction with the higher temperature due to the very hot silver. I'm almost burning my fingers here. We wait a bit. Let me check if you're there. Terry is there. Hello, Terry. Oh, still very hot. Now, let's have a look at the brew. So if the color is a bit light, you may choose to pour a bit slower. Now this farmer in Sanxia is also making white teas also higher oxidized teas like red teas in summer, and then this Baozhong scented tea in the winter, using Osmanthus tree that is growing on the plantation. So here we are not just assured that the tea is made with organic leaves, but even the Osmanthus flowers are organic because they are growing, the tree is growing on the plantation. So nothing goes to waste over there, and the scents of Osmanthus are really exploding in this cup. But it's really very hot. And very sweet. That's very, very nice, very pure. Now a lingering scent of Osmanthus on the tongue. Very fresh, very, very flowery, very delicate because of the quality of the leaves and also this lightness from the Osmanthus scents. I hope you are enjoying it today. Wonderful. So here we really have an excellent example of how flower-scented Baozhong can be such a high quality level, and there are several reasons for this. We can see one of the reasons is to use very good tea leaves as a material to support the flower scents. Yeah, in this case, it's organic Baozhong from the winter, not from summer or fall, which produce a bit more rougher tastes. Here we have really the finest taste from the winter, very fresh because it's the same season as the Osmanthus are blooming. Another way to have a high quality flower scent is to use a high ratio of flowers to the tea leaves. And this should be quite obvious. If you use X kilo for 10 kilogram of tea, or if you use 2x, you are getting better results with 2x of flowers than with 1x. So a good amount of flowers is also important to give the scent to the tea. And in order to make this to concentrate these flower aromas even more, it is also possible to make the process several times. So, for instance, the jasmine tea that is in my selection, the imperial version has been scented more times than the top version, which has been again scented more times than the standard version. So the quality also increases with the number of scenting. It's sometimes this is a process that can be repeated 3, 6, 10 times, and the stronger the flower scent compared to the tea scent. Of course, the quality of the flower itself and which flower is used to scent the tea will also have a high impact on the quality. Here we have several flowers that are more often used. Jasmine tea, I would say, is probably the flower we encounter the most. But even in jasmine, you have several grades. There are lots of different jasmine flowers in the jasmine family, and what the masters will do is, for lower grade, they will use cheaper jasmine flowers that have a bit stronger smell but not as refined as for the higher grade jasmine tea. So also so not all jasmine flowers are the same. Here again, the detail can be important, and the better the flower, maybe the better your scent will be. We not only have jasmine, we also have Osmanthus, we have sometimes roses, orchid, magnolia. All the flowers that have a nice smell can be used to scent teas. Just for each, you have to a bit adapt to the moisture and the time of the harvest, etc. What else? I think that's, and of course, what is important is this final process of drying the leaves and fixing the aroma on the tea leaves through this drying roasting. Be very have a good mastery of this process. So there are more processes involved than in just making the tea, because you not just have to make the Baozhong, you also here you need to be careful during the scenting process, and you have to be careful again during the roasting or drying process. So there are lots of techniques to master. These techniques go back to the middle of the 19th century. So right now it's roughly 175 years that we have this kind of tea. We are really fortunate to be witnesses of a tea with such a long history. So scented Baozhongs exported to Asia, Southeast Asia, is almost something of the past. However, jasmine tea that was then later exported to Manchukuo, this is a tea that is still a bit more present still nowadays. But as we can see, the history survives in this cup of tea. Let's appreciate it for all the knowledge that comes together to make this great combination between the soil, the climate, the flowers. Also, we can also be touched by the fact that flowers have such a short life. It's a bit like the symbol of a human life compared to the eternity of the planet. So flowers are short-lived. They really bloom in one day or 1 week. But thanks to tea, the fragrance is captured and sometimes can be kept for a very long time, sometimes many, many years. Thank you very much, tea, to perform such miracle. Let's enjoy the tea and reflect on the long past of scented Baozhongs. And simply enjoy. Okay, let me see if you have any questions before the dog barks too loud. Terry, I have an Osmanthus shrub with flowers. Could I add the fresh flowers to my tea leaves? I would say probably yes. You could do this with tea leaves that are light in fragrance, like green tea or light Baozhong. Just maybe make sure that that Osmanthus you have is really not a problem for eating. That especially that you did not spray these flowers with I don't know, pesticides or any special chemistry. But if you have taken good care of it without too much chemistry, it should be good to and you can try. If you really want to be on the safe side, you can first just let it scent the tea. So you putting the leaves and the flower next to each other, and then not drinking the flowers. Or if you really make sure that the flowers are comestible, that you can eat them, then you can maybe even try to mix them. Okay. Thank you very much for your interest. I still have tea, and you can continue to brew this tea. This is a very powerful tea that can be brewed many times. Maybe a little bit fewer times with the silver teapot because it's exhausting the leaves faster and we are not using too many leaves. But if you are using it in Gaiwan of porcelain, then you can really make lots of brews. Okay. Thank you, Terry and Elizabeth. Bye-bye. Oh, and next Sunday we are going to do Émile Zola, again our analysis of beverages in the novel I've just finished, La Joie de Vivre. So we are pausing the Baozhong classes for a week, and we will continue in 2 weeks with the next Baozhong class. Okay. Yeah. Cheers. And give me a thumbs up if you liked the class, and give me a remark if you had any questions. Bye-bye.